demonstrations underscores the shame of leaders who have failed to inspire or deliver. Traoré's rise exposes a painful truth. African leaders are not getting this support because they have not earned it. Many have presided over economies that enrich foreign corporations while impoverishing their people. They sign military pacts with France and the US, allowing foreign troops to operate on African soil while jihadist insurgencies fester. They cling to power through rigged elections or constitutional manipulation, alienating their youth who see no future under their rule. In contrast, Traoré's Burkina Faso, though not without challenges, is a beacon of hope, a nation daring to chart its own path despite immense external pressure. Captain Traoré's greatest weapon is his willingness to speak truths that African leaders would rather bury. He has called out the hypocrisy of Western powers and their African proxies with a clarity that resonates far beyond Burkina Faso. If you want to break with these imperialist forces, it's simple. We must denounce the agreements, he urged in January 2025, slamming French President Emmanuel Macron's claim that African leaders should thank Paris for its military presence. Traoré's retort that Macron was insulting all Africans electrified the continent, exposing the condescension of former colonial powers and the complicity of African leaders who uphold such arrangements. Traoré has also challenged the narrative of African dependency, rejecting the idea that the continent needs Western aid or intervention to thrive. We have proof. Tracks have been laid. Soldiers are equipped, he said in July 2024, accusing France, Benin and Ivory Coast of orchestrating destabilization efforts against Burkina Faso. By naming names and presenting evidence, Traoré has forced African leaders to confront their role in perpetuating neo-colonial networks. His accusations against Ivory Coast in particular have strained diplomatic ties but emboldened activists who see Ouattara as a pawn of Western interests. Perhaps most damning is Traoré's critique of African leaders' failure to unite. At the AES summit, he spoke of a continent suffering from the fire of the imperialists and called for a confederation that prioritizes African sovereignty over Western appeasement. This vision directly challenges ECOWAS, which many view as a tool of French and American influence. By forging the AES with Mali and Niger, Traoré has shown that African unity is possible without Western oversight, a prospect that terrifies leaders who rely on external validation to maintain power. The protests supporting Traoré have instilled fear in African leaders for several reasons. First, they highlight a growing Pan-Africanist consciousness that transcends national borders. The fact that Ghanaians, Liberians and others are rallying for a Burkinabe leader suggests that loyalty is shifting from individual governments to a broader vision of African liberation. This is a nightmare scenario for presidents who depend on nationalist rhetoric or ethnic divisions to maintain control. Second, Traoré's popularity exposes the fragility of their own legitimacy. When Liberians risk arrest to protest outside the Ivorian embassy, or when Ghanaians chant Traoré's name while ignoring Akufo-Addo, it sends a clear message. The social contract between African leaders and their people is broken. The arrests in Liberia, in particular, reveal a desperate attempt to suppress this awakening, but such measures only fuel public resentment. As one ex-post warned, the CIA warns that leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré could influence African leaders and Africa may become a superpower in under 15 years. This fear of a Traoré-inspired domino effect is palpable among elites. Third, Traoré's defiance of Western powers raises the stakes for African leaders who collaborate with them. His expulsion of French troops and rejection of the CFA franc have inspired calls for similar actions in countries like Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire and Cameroon. Leaders who host Western military bases or sign IMF deals now face increasing scrutiny from their citizens, who see Traoré as proof that another path is possible. The protests, with their anti-imperialist slogans and Russian flags, signal a rejection of the West's grip on Africa, a trend that threatens the political survival of pro-Western regimes. The support for Traoré extends beyond Africa, amplifying his influence and the embarrassment of African leaders. In the African diaspora, particularly in the United States and Europe, Activists have organised solidarity rallies, drawing parallels between Traoré's struggle and global fights against imperialism. Social media platforms like X are ablaze with posts hailing Traoré as a revolutionary hero. One user declared, "Everyone with a black skin on earth must stand with Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso," reflecting the global resonance of his message. This international dimension underscores why Traoré's leadership is so threatening. Unlike African leaders who caught Western approval at Davos or the UN, Traoré speaks to the grassroots, youth, workers, and the disenfranchised. His alignment with Russia and China, while controversial, is seen as a strategic move to counter Western dominance, not a blind embrace of new masters. "Either we agree to fight for our country or we remain slaves forever," Traoré declared in response to US threats, a statement that has gone viral among activists worldwide. As the dust settles from the April 30th protests, one thing is clear. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has changed the game. His leadership has not only galvanized Burkina Faso, but sparked a pan-Africanist renaissance that is forcing African leaders to confront their own inadequacies. The fear and shame they feel are not just personal, they reflect a deeper crisis of legitimacy in a continent yearning for true independence. For the people, Traoré represents hope, a leader who dares to dream of an Africa free from the shackles of imperialism, where resources serve the many, not the few. For African leaders, he is a mirror reflecting their failures, a reminder that power without purpose is fleeting. As one Burkinabe protester, Haroun Sawadogo, warned, if they want to eliminate Captain Traoré, they should eliminate the people first. This is the heart of Traoré's revolution, a movement rooted in the will of the people, unstoppable by arrests, threats, or coups. The protests of April 30th, 2025 are a wake-up call for Africa. They signal a new era where citizens are no longer content with leaders who bow to foreign powers or prioritise personal gain over public welfare. Traoré's truths about imperialism, unity and self-reliance are reshaping the continent's political landscape, exposing the cowardice of those who cling to the old order